And we're back. All right. So this was made on Sunday or Saturday. Made on Saturday. So I'll start with my honorable mention, which didn't make my top 10 list, but it's definitely one that could easily be traded in to make the top 10. But there's so many other things that came out. I had to mention it this weekend. That would be Terra Nil. That was what a delightful little game that was. It was just really good. You remember I played that one on a good majority of that on stream. I would have loved for there to be more of it, is basically what it comes down to. It was just a delightful playthrough. I got all achievements in it. The little puzzles to complete the maps were great. It was a very satisfying game in the way that it did its loop, its gameplay. Just a great little sim, you know? Good times. That takes us to number 10 on my list. And this is a solid 10. Great on mobile too, if you have Netflix. There you go. That's neat. I bet you that is a really good mobile game too. But yeah, my number 10, and this is a solid number 10. It was a great playthrough, but there were some things lacking that I was kind of hoping wouldn't be, to keep me playing it, and that's going to be Diablo 4. So the Diablo 4 story was fantastic. I think as far as what Diablos go, it was one of the best ones. I loved all the characters that you got in touch with and how things progressed through the story. Really enjoyed playing that. Enjoyed exploring the world. My Barbarian build was a ton of fun to play. It was just a great time through that first playthrough. So Diablo 4 gets a place on the list because of that. It hands down, a great game. It was just a really good game. But what was lacking for me and why it's at number 10 is the season stuff. It was really awkward, I feel, with Diablo 4 to get involved in post-game and go into season content. I feel like not being able to take my character on into the first season may have had an effect on this, because you have to grind out a completely new character, yada yada. It's standard season stuff for Diablo. They were doing that since Diablo 3 at least. So like it's pretty standard in that sense, but like it's a very convoluted process getting into the season and getting to a point where like you can really grind out season content. It was interesting how they did it, because now they added in like all the different, the world event stuff and all those things are added into it. But I feel like with Diablo 3 season compared to 4, it was very cut and dry what you needed to do to get through a season. With Diablo 4, it was very convoluted. And that's what really lost it for me and why I haven't returned back to it again. I'm glad I have the game, so I can return to it at one point in time. But Diablo 4, very easy, number 10 for me. But great experience outside that season content. Another one that's very solid in its position at number 9 is going to be Pokemon Scarlet. This was a great Pokemon game, like no doubt about it. I love the open world element to it. I think that was a lot of fun, them adding that in. Would have liked to see a little bit more, and I feel like it wasn't like super empty, but I would have liked to have like more points of interest, maybe something along those lines, not involved with like your Pokemon mass outbreaks or whatever that they would have going on with it. And why I really kind of left it there and put it at 9 in a solid 9 position is how they handled issues with the game, or rather their lack of handling issues with the game, surrounding performance. We've talked about this before, where like, and even now there's apparently a game breaking bug, or a bug that will freeze you in the final battle of the DLC. It just does not feel polished and complete. And that is something that we've come to expect from Pokemon games, and they really kind of dropped the ball, especially coming off Sword and Shield and Arceus, and how great and polished those games were, how well the raid battles in Sword and Shield worked. All of those things were there, and I just feel like they lost that in Scarlet Violet. So great game, put a lot of hours into it, but it didn't touch anywhere near how much I played Arceus, how much I played Sword and Shield, and how much I've gone back to those versus whenever I look at Scarlet and it's like, I don't really feel like going back to that game. Do I get the DLCs? Maybe eventually, but at this point, like, it's not even, like, for the foreseeable future, I really don't see myself going into Scarlet until I hear something, anything on the end here that says we're going to go back and we're going to fix some of those performance issues that people are running into to make this a little bit better of an operating game. Now, everything from here on, basically 4 through 8, they're a toss-up. 4 through 8 almost don't matter. I really kind of put these games in a position that I try to make sense with this ranking, but honestly, each one of these games can be swapped out for the other very, very easily, depending on what's going on with them. But I tried to make this make sense as much as possible. So my number 8 game is probably the most hysterical game that I played this year and had a lot, like, still having a ton of fun with it. It is absolutely just side-splitting hilarious as Party Animals. There was no way that I was going to leave this off my list this year. I giggle my face off. It's just such a silly, fun experience. There was one evening that I was playing and I almost got the sense that I was playing Halo again, Halo 3 again. Like, it's just, that sort of feeling came up. A little bit of Fall Guys, like, I got reminiscent of Fall Guys, got reminiscent of Halo, like, all these different experiences through multiplayer combat and battling and competition, all kind of just, and even Rocket League portions, like, just, it pulls in all of these great multiplayer experiences that I've had over the years with games, with competition games like this, and it just, I felt those essences as I was going through, as I'm going through and playing this and grinding out, special outfits and just nonsensical animal shenanigans, and they're so precious. The elite lady called it adorably violent, because it is an extremely violent game, but it's so dang adorable as they do it. Had a lot of fun. Number 8, but again, this could very easily be number 4. It could very easily be number 7. It's just a really great one. At number 7, now these next two, 6 and 7, these two can be really heavily discussed on how I have them placed because of the type of game that they are and what they have to offer. And I am very set on how they're placed one above the other. So number 7 for me is going to be Final Fantasy 16. We had a lengthy discussion about Final Fantasy 16 on Saturday. It was probably our most deeply talked about game, easily. For Saturday, we spent time on this and we talked about it a lot and what we would like to see from the Final Fantasy series as we go on into the future, things that we would like to keep versus things that we would like to see changed. It was a huge discussion. Generally, though, we were in full agreement that the story, or at least a majority of the story, the voice acting, the music, all of those things were super solid with Final Fantasy 16. And where we really felt it was lacking was the depth of the RPG experience. Where it just seems like with 16, leveling didn't matter. Leveling doesn't matter in 16. Gear doesn't matter in 16. Like, a lot of these different things that you would come to expect from an RPG experience just don't matter. And they kind of turned it into, what do we say? We did a lot of comparisons to Devil May Cry. We did a lot of comparisons to some other games that just, like, didn't meet that RPG standard that we were kind of looking for, what you would come to expect from a Final Fantasy game. While it had elements that made it a really great game, it was that portion there that we don't want to see carried on. I don't want to see a simplified RPG experience. I want my levels to matter. I want crafting and gearing to matter. I want an exploration piece to it, a collectible of some kind where it makes me go back out into these zones and go to every nook and cranny where that doesn't really exist with 16 the way that it is. So The other thing that we talked about was, do we get the DLC? Is it even worth it to spend the money on the DLC whenever it comes out? And for me, it's not. Like, I don't see any worth on getting the DLC. If you enjoyed it, by all means. This is purely my opinion of it. While it was good, and I'm looking forward to finishing it, because I do plan on doing that. I don't know if I'll finish it on stream, though. That's the only thing that I'm really questioning at this point, is if it's going to come back to stream. I don't feel, at this point in time where I'm at, I don't feel the need to have to go out and get a DLC. I missed, even as something as simple as going and finding a little treasure chest out in the corner somewhere, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Nothing on the little pieces that make it a great RPG to explore, to want to live in that world, to be in that world as often as possible. It doesn't have those things. And that's really the piece for me that was missing, is that fishing is one of the easiest examples for me to bring up. It makes you go back out into the world. You've got a log to complete. It's something just to kind of do off to the side of all this amazing combat and story content. Just something like that would have changed this conversation for me, because as far as the rest of the game goes, whether it's the icon fights or with the only thing that I would really say is, and we all agreed on this too, is that the Titan icon fight was just a little too long. There were too many steps in that process. But for me, and this was not reflected by the group at all, I loved the icon fights, where Garuda was pretty much the peak, but throughout so far, fighting with Garuda, Titan, Bahamut, they've all been fantastic. The little mental battle that you go through with Ifrit, all of that stuff is really good. That was not reflected with the rest of the group. That was actually a con that came from Palooza and in particular J-Money, is that the icon battles were just too much in their opinion. And that's a reasonable opinion to have of those portions, but for me personally, they were a highlight. Those things were so much fun. The icon battles were just epic, cinematic, glorious. There is some button mashing going on, but like a lot of it's just there is some strategy involved with what you're doing, but they're a very simple combat experience in comparison to some of the other stuff, especially the hunts. But just the way, the cinematics to it, the dialogue that's going through, Bahamut in particular was just intense. That was a crazy intense battle. Titan was incredible. And Garuda, I think, was peak. I think how Garuda was set up, if they would have kept that as the thread for all of the icon battles going forward. But I think Bahamut's makes sense, the way that Bahamut's went down, because of how the story was around it, the context. But I feel like with Titans, they were on the path with the Garuda, but it just went a little bit too long. I don't think we needed that third falling phase or fourth falling phase. Was that the fourth phase of that fight series? I can't even remember, but it was just a little bit drawn out. But other than that, I think the combat's great. The ability to switch between icon power sets is fantastic. It's just a lot of fun to play. The sound, we talked about the sound effects, the music are all great. I just had a good time with the game. But I did put at number 6, higher than Final Fantasy 16 at 7, Sea of Stars. And so I put Sea of Stars at number 6 above Final Fantasy 16 on purpose, because Sea of Stars, all those things that I was talking about with the RPG experience, Sea of Stars adds in and gives, on top of being just a solid RPG in general. So it scratches that turn-based itch. If you've been looking for a turn-based RPG game, Sea of Stars has it. It's got great music to it. J. Cool, welcome on in from the Czech Republic. It's a global superstar. Welcome on in. Good to see you. Right now, I'm just going through my personal top 10 games of the year this year. But welcome on in. Feel free to join the discussion at any time. So with Sea of Stars, you have great music. Battle music kind of grinds on me a little bit after a little while, but the combat experience itself is really nice. It pulls in elements from a lot of those old JRPG games that we've enjoyed over the years. Stuff from Super Mario RPG, stuff from Chrono Trigger, from Final Fantasy. You can just feel like this is a part of that genre that just, it strikes all the right notes. Characters are fantastic. The environments are really cool looking. The story and the plot keep you moving along and has a really nice plot to it. And really, like, the best thing about the characters is it's not so much like the main character that you choose at the beginning that's giving you the best type of stories and character development. It's your extra, your other companions that are coming in. The assassin, Garl, our Samwise the Brave of this game. He is absolutely fantastic. I love his interactions. It almost feels like it's his game and not the main character that you choose at the beginning. It's just been a real delight to play through, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it. It is a really great RPG experience. Don't have much controversial games in the check, so everything's solid. You know exactly what's going on. Number 5, and again, this could easily be number 4. This was even in my mind for a little bit, and the topic of discussion for Game of the Year. But ultimately, I think we have a good understanding of what ended up winning that out for me. But number 5, I've got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This was a awesome video game. Indy, good morning. I feel like with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, because Breath of the Wild was pretty neat. It was cool. I got Skyrim in it, as in the world was more interesting than anything else that game could provide. But I think with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, they took Breath of the Wild and they just made it better. And Palooza was saying this weekend, like, it was very difficult to see how they were going to be able to make Tears of the Kingdom a sequel to Breath of the Wild because of how much he enjoyed Breath of the Wild, but they ended up doing it. I think the powers are fantastic. It's very imaginative. Just a really, and having the ability to make those things, like we were discussing with the community game, best community game, with the golden joysticks. You had people coming up with very, oftentimes hysterical, but really cool little devices that they were putting together to change how they were playing their game. The one thing that I mentioned with this, with it being an open world game, like in the sense of a Skyrim or a Starfield, something along those lines, with it being an open world game, the really nice thing about it is that you could progress the game no matter which direction on the map that you went. There was a way to progress it, whether it was making you, if you dance, I follow. I do a dance. I just don't have a dance floor. If you've heard of the Manderville Mambo from 14, I do know that dance. I just don't have a dance floor to do it. I think I have a clip on TikTok. In fact, I know I have a clip on TikTok. But I appreciate that you have a criteria for the follow. It's probably good. Good vetting. But yeah, you can go anywhere on the map and you're going to progress, whether it's finding the tiers for the story elements or hitting up shrines, going to different cities and getting their quests to get through their whatever they've got going on that also progresses your story and your character development. There's just you pretty much have the ability to go in any direction, have progression, and it has a plot line that's really fun and interesting to follow. It was a delight. Definitely deserves a top 10 space, easily. And then number 4, Telltale's The Expanse. Now this one, we played the first episode on stream. We'll be playing the other episodes. They're all out now. That's going to be coming up. Please look forward to it, where we're going to finish that out. But this, even though I only played one episode, I put this on my top 10 list because I'm not one to seek out story-driven narrative walking simulator games. That Telltale is really what they're known for. And they brought in an IP and executed it so well that I just had to put it up here. It's such a fine story that they're developing over there with Telltale The Expanse. Thank you for that follow, Cool Blue. Appreciate you. Welcome to the kingdom. I'm really looking forward to playing the other episodes. Is this going to be something that maybe taps my interest into going into maybe Telltale's Batman or The Wolf Among Us, that is very highly regarded within the Telltale series that are out there? Maybe. It's definitely something that I'm keeping my mind open to, but the fact that they were able to bring this IP in and execute it so well and have the nuances and have Kamina Drummer's voice actor come in, No problem. You know, it's in the afternoon for you. I appreciate you stopping by and dropping a follow. Really cool of you. You have yourself a fantastic day. Looking forward to the next episodes with this and seeing how the story develops, especially since my choices matter. And we will be playing this one on stream. This is not because I was given a copy. That's not why it made the list. It made the list because it's a game it's a game style that I normally don't play. They made me play it, and they did a great job with it, and still, like, didn't make me go, you know what, that's not my Expanse. They didn't do that with me. So it's I think they nailed it out of the park, and I'm looking forward to doing more of it. Now, the top 3 does matter. The top 3 is games that I played this year. That 1, 2, and 3, they're 1, 2, and 3 for a reason. These were ones that I really I had to put some thought into, kinda, especially for 2 and 3 on where they were going to be. But I think I'm very happy with where I placed them and how I felt, basically just how I feel generally over these top 3 on why they're in the place that they are. And number 3, I put Starfield. This was it's an incredible game. Everything is put together so well with it. It's polished. It looks great. The gameplay loop is fantastic. Honestly, there's nothing really bad that I can say about it except for one thing, and that's why it was brought down to number 3, is that I would have really liked a respec. I really would have liked to be able to respec. Take my points from other trees and put them someplace else. Because something that I ran into, getting into the end game and trying to go to the end of some of these major plot points, whether it's through side quests or through main story, is that my starship combat was very, very much lacking going into the end game. And I had to really divert a lot to make sure that I could get through some of these space combat points, because I was not built for ship-to-ship combat. Whenever I was going through and putting my points in, I wanted to focus on like the science tech tree, researching, crafting, building mods for my suits and my weapons and things like that. I really focused in and honed in on those things, so I have a lot of points there. I wanted to do a little bit more sneaking around and persuading people versus doing combat, so I got a lot of points in stealth and persuasion, and being able to be a more charismatic character, at the same time being able to sneak around so I don't have to get myself into situations that are questionable. I can talk my way out of them or sneak my way through them. I didn't have to be effective in combat. I didn't have to put any points in any sort of combat traits, which was great. That felt fantastic. So it just goes to show that, like, if I go into my New Game Plus and I put points in the combat, I'll just get better and better, right? So, like, that's really nice. Where there isn't that sort of base to ship combat, you've got to do some focused tech point spending in ships to make sure that you can be effective in space. There is a baseline that you can be sort of effective, but whenever it came down to getting to the end of some of these these major story or side story missions for factions and stuff, the ship-to-ship combat, I was getting obliterated. Even being at like level 38, 39, 40, I was getting absolutely decimated in space, where I'd have to try and retry or cheese out or something along those lines to try and get through some of these combat instances in space. So, like, not having a respec to be able to say, okay, let me draw out some points from science since I have a lot in there, and since I'm going into a lot of space combat, let me move those over. Having that adjustment, it may have changed where this is on the list, but that's main reason why it's at number 3. I couldn't respec. I couldn't become more effective in space without going out and grinding out more points so that I could put those in the shipbuilding to be more effective. And that's my detractor. Starfield is fantastic, but it's at number 3 for that reason for me. Metroid Prime 2, or Metroid Prime Remaster, is at number 2. This was my game of the year for the longest time until my number 1 came out. Again, solid remaster experience. They added in that collectability portion to it that just really tickled a part of my brain. That was really nice, going through one of the best games that existed in the Wii/GameCube generation or the Wii generation of things. Because I was so struck. I had so much fun with the original Metroid Prime, then coming out with the remaster, making everything sound better, look better, plus adding in that sort of collectible catalog that you can access through your menu and see all the different, like, you know, dev pictures and trophy slash statues sort of thing. Just it tickled that part of my brain for me. Fantastic game. Even if it's not like, if you've never played Metroid Prime and you're not even really like a big shooter player, I think you should even still give Prime a try, because it's got a lot of really cool things to it. And it's not really that long of a playthrough. You could probably get through in like, the game in 20 hours, casually. I mean, the game can be speedrun in like less than 2. So it's just absolutely fantastic. I think it was perfect. There's not much that I would change about it. It's just delightful. It's absolutely delightful. But it was my number 2 because number 1 is just that good. It is my number 1. My game of the year this year is a perfect video game in every sense, from sound design to soundtrack to character development to environments, to the RPG experience where your leveling does matter, to, you know, weapons do matter. Alchemy is the little bit of crafting that you can do in it, and that matters because, man, having pots is so great through playthroughs. It makes things so much easier. The plot itself is just absolutely delightful, and even in a playthrough where I was not happy with how the back third of it went and the certain things that had to happen to my character and to my party, even with that in mind, going into the end game and Mita, hey, thank you for the resub. I appreciate you. Welcome back. I feel like it's been a long time. And you came just in time to hear my game of the year. And this is gonna be a game that keeps me coming back over and over again to go through playthroughs. I even had, I've got another one started. And the way that I did this one is I went as a Oath of Vengeance Paladin. I'm probably gonna end up going Broken Oath. Probably gonna end up breaking my oath in this playthrough because I'm gonna be a lot more heavy-fisted in particular situations. And if that wasn't any sort of indication on what my number 1 game of the year was, it is Baldur's Gate 3. It is absolutely perfect. Baldur's Gate 3 is perfect. There's nothing else to be said about this game. It is long, so don't expect to put 20 hours into it and be done. Like, this is a game that you will take at least 60 hours to beat. I've got no cons. None. I've got no cons on this. All those things that I was mentioning back in previous games, this basically has it. The only thing it's missing is fishing, but I don't even think about it while I'm playing through the game. And I keep a fishing rod in my inventory just in case. But it is immersive. It is deep. There are quests that just like, it doesn't matter which direction you take, you're always going to progress through it. There is a common thread for the plot, but how you can stay weaving in and out and around that common thread is amazing, with just all the different stuff that can happen to you through a single playthrough. The one thing that I mentioned on Saturday was that at one time I had 5 playthroughs. I think I have like 3 or 4 now, including the multiplayer one that I do with Palooza, Vincent, and Toby on Fridays, when we're all healthy and ready to go for it. But basically, in each one of these different playthroughs, I have not seen the same situation twice, which is just, to me, is mind-boggling. And the fact that even in other things that I've watched from other content creators playing on Twitch or whatnot, YouTube, whatever it is, I'm still seeing way different things happening through different plot points that I've been to myself. So like, it has a and the randomness to this because of dice rolls and stuff, I think just adds into that. The fact that your race, your class and race combination, who you have in your party, happened in a previous quest line, all of those things have an effect on a particular on a future quest. In an entire act, Act 3 is everything that you get into in Act 3 is determined by choices that you made in Act 1 and 2. It is just there's so much to it. And then on top of that, you've got all those RPG experiences to it. Your levels matter. You have the ability to customize your classes to the moon. It's just perfect. It's a perfect game. Perfect video game. Well deserving of the game of the year this year for me. And there was no questions asked on whether or not that was going to be the game of the year. Sheer amount of new people to the genre. It has managed to bring to us a testament to it. Yeah. Yep. Everything affects everything else. Baldur's Gate 3 is so good for so many reasons. Very, very true. This is one of those ones, like, if you get an opportunity to do it, it's on PlayStation now. You've got, of course, on PC, and it's coming to Xbox soon. I highly recommend this. Even if you're not an RPG player, there's just things in that game that will be wildly entertaining to just about anybody who picks this up. If you like just smashing stuff with big weapons, there's job classes for you. If you're a caster, there's job classes for you. If you want a little mix of both, you can make that happen. Like there is just a wide breadth of customization, not just to your character, but to your playthrough in particular. That this is an RPG that I think sets standards to what we should expect as consumers. This is one of those games that does it, and that's a testament from the conversations that other developers were having around Baldur's Gate, and how it's not a bar setter. It's not something that we should expect. I think we should expect that because it was so well polished and so well done out the gate that we should be expecting the overall experience that we got from Baldur's Gate 3, that polish, that delightfulness, the depth. We should expect that from our games if it's that type of game. Because it's one of those ones that exceeds standards and is just so well executed in nearly every game mechanic. I just don't think that there was any other game on this list that could even come close to what they achieved this year with Baldur's Gate 3 and its release. It was just amazing. It was amazing. So that's my number one, my game of the year, Baldur's Gate 3. Easy choice. And I don't know. It would just be surprising if it doesn't take Game of the Year at Game Awards this year. The only other one that I could see is because of the popularity of Zelda versus, the populations of people that were playing Zelda versus the populations of people that were playing Baldur's Gate. It was also another one of those ones that, like Elden Ring, which pulled in a lot of people who typically didn't play Souls-like games. Elden Ring did that same thing last year, where it plopped into the industry, and it took the internet by storm. People who normally don't play Souls-like went and played Elden Ring. It just really kind of enhanced the genre. And put it on a lot of people's radars. Baldur's Gate 3 did the same thing. The other cool thing about Baldur's Gate is that it had callbacks to the previous two, just delightful. Absolutely delightful. Zelda would have been the game of the year if Baldur's Gate 3 didn't come out. That's how I feel too. But I feel like the contender for Baldur's Gate is going to be Zelda, and that would be the one that would win. So I'd be sad if Zelda won Gotti, but Baldur's Gate 3 is just too good. Yep. That's it. Zelda's great. It's fantastic. 16's good. But now in comparison, even I think Sea of Stars, like if it was just Sea of Stars and Final Fantasy 16, I probably would put Sea of Stars up for Game of the Year. It's one of those years where if particular games didn't come out, other ones would win. I just think that Baldur's Gate had such an effect on the industry, and there were so many good conversations around the game, and so many people played it, and so many people enjoyed playing it, and people fell in love with companions almost immediately, and Shadowheart took the internet by storm, and Karlach just robbed everybody of their hearts, and Asterion made everybody thirsty. I think it's just one of those ones that everybody loved it. Everybody who played it loved it. You know, it was just delightful. Surprising a lot of people, I think the mass appeal of Zelda is going to give it the win. And that's where I'm leaning to, is that Zelda had a foothold, and it just got stronger with Tears of the Kingdom. That's going to be what carries Zelda to a win over Baldur's Gate 3. But Baldur's Gate 3, I think, did more for us than what Zelda did. It's so good. It's so good. Go play it. Go play it. That's my top 10 list. Number 1, Baldur's Gate 3, Metroid Prime Remaster, Starfield, Telltale's The Expanse, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Sea of Stars, Final Fantasy 16, Party Animals, Pokemon Scarlet, and Diablo 4. And then my honorable mention, Terra Nil. Some other stuff that I played that was really good this year are a lot of fun. Foxhole was a blast. I remade an island in Animal Crossing New Horizon, and I can't recommend doing that enough. If you've gotten tired of your island or bored of it or something like that, and you just sit there and you're thinking, man, I could really go for playing some Animal Crossing, just go start a new island. You won't regret it. It's good times. Of course, there was Subnautica and Dredge, and they were fun in their own right. Subnautica, was terrifying. It was my horror game of the year. It was so scary and so fun to play. But I've basically gotten to a point in that game where I got the big sub, right? The big one that lets you go deeper. And I built it. It's there. And I'm sitting here and I was thinking to myself, I don't want to go deeper. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm okay. So my guy retired in the middle depths and is farming kelp for the remainder of his days. Dave the Diver has to be in the conversation. So Dave the Diver, for my personal list, I didn't get to play it. We're going to be talking about Dave the Diver in the 2023-24 top 10, because I do plan on playing that game going into this new fiscal gaming year. So I started playing Subnautica a couple days ago. Listen, it's a great game, undeniable. I'm scared of it. I'm just scared of it, 100%. And in the same line, Dredge is in there also. Really nice slice of life game with a nice horror element added into it. And both of those games, they scared the pants off me. I'm not a deep water fan, so whenever I got to that point in Subnautica, it's like, here's your submarine. Now you can go down to 1,000 meters. And I was like, I didn't even like going down to 250 meters. Why am I going to do this? I'm not. I'm living at my middling deaths. I'm happy. But it's okay. I'm good here. Thanks for the game. And Dredge, what a delightful little indie game that was. That was really good. I think Palooza put that as his honorable mention game, if I remember correctly. And it was, it's a delight. It's an absolute delight. Of course, we had some No Man's Sky in there. This is actually the first year since I've started doing this, which is 7 years I've been doing my top 10 list. This is the first year that No Man's Sky didn't make the list. And I'm blaming Starfield, because with Starfield, it scratched my No Man's Sky itch, but it gave me a really great RPG experience on top of it, where No Man's Sky is more of like a Minecrafty survival crafting game in my eyes than it is more an RPG. So Starfield was kind of like, Dredge was actually in the top 10. Nice. Yeah, that's right. Dredge was in the top 10. It was good. It was a good game. What else? I mentioned Sims 4. I play that off and on all the time. GTA 5. Can we talk about... Listen. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Grand Theft Auto games that keeps that it gets such prevalence. These games are awful. They are terrible. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand Grand Theft Auto. I tried Grand Theft Auto 4, never finished it, put it away, because at the time a new Saints Row came around and I was like, bye-bye, GTA. And then I picked up GTA 5 this year because it was on Game Pass. I was like, all right, let me give this game a try. Everybody loves this game. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I'm anxious to see how the new Saints Row, because I do have it downloaded on my PlayStation. I got it through PS Plus this past month. I'm anxious to see how that sits versus my GTA 5 experience. I already have a hunch on how it's gonna go. I have a feeling I always find the positives in things. Even Saints Row 4, which was not my favorite Saints Row, was still a great time to play, better than what GTA 4 and 5 were able to give me. And that is heralded as one of the worst Saints Rows in the series. I adored playing that game in comparison to the GTAs. So I have a feeling I know exactly what's going to happen whenever I play the reboot. GTA is just so bad. And if you like it, well done. You've got some sort of gumption that I do not have, because good lord is it so bad. It's so bad. Oh, it's awful. It's just absolutely awful. Who remembers Dorfromantik? I almost made that my honorable mention. That was a really great indie game. Tons of fun to play. It made me sweaty after trying to get all those points and stuff. I've kind of been having a hankering since doing this to play that, to go back and play a little bit more of it. So Cyberpunk Rehaul is really good. Yeah, Dorfromantik was something, wasn't it? It was just a interesting little sort of city builder puzzly type of deal. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Cyberpunk, I have a feeling that if I played Cyberpunk, it probably would have made the list. It would have been too soon. I think it would have been too soon to say with Phantom Liberty, because there wouldn't have been a whole lot of time for me to get in before list time. Maybe we give it a try this year. It's been something that's been on the back of my mind along with Dave the Diver. They've been kind of sitting there like, I should probably give these things a try. What else was there? Domekeeper was pretty neat. The gameplay loop just wasn't there for me to keep going, but it was a delight to give a try and play through the way that I did, as much as I did. Very like I don't want to say Terraria, but kinda. It's interesting. It's an interesting game. It was a good time to play. It was a good one to play for a little bit at least. Of course, we had our Fall Guys time that came around because of the 14 crossover event. That was a good time. Stellaris is always and forever. Cities is always and forever. We got Cities 2 coming up. Astro's Playroom. God, you should have heard these nerds. It was all three of them too. All three of them. Astro's Playhouse is super good. Whoa, man, it was so great. That game is mid AF, man. I don't. Core Keeper. I've been watching Colt Diggity play some Core Keeper. That seems like a really good one. It is super good. You're mid. Well, yeah, I am mid, but that game is mid. Astro's what? Astro's Playroom. It comes with the PlayStation 5 whenever you get it. It's just a little cutesy platformer where your collectibles are old PlayStation, Sony peripherals, things like that. Yeah, it's just the tech demo-ness of what it is neat. I will give them that whenever they were talking about it. But nah, bruh. I played it for like an hour and a half, and then I moved right on to installing Final Fantasy XIV. Coral Islands. Coral Island was a really nice slice of life game. I'm looking forward to getting back into that, but we just heard that a 1.6 update is coming out for Stardew Valley. So Coral Island's gonna be probably put on the back burner until I at least get through that again. But that'll end up scratching the itch of slice of life for me whenever that update comes around. So not allowed on any real list exactly. It's an incredible homage to PS Past. It's a great tech demo. It is a great tech. It does those things. It's just the type of game that it is really what killed it for me. Like, it's, oh yeah, little puzzles here and there, puzzly platformer type of situation with all this little nostalgia kind of wrapped up into it. Little cutesy things from other games, and you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. I just wasn't affected. I wasn't affected the way that they were when playing it. because I would say that I'm probably more of a Nintendo and Xbox guy, despite all the time that I've spent on PlayStation. I think that Xbox and Nintendo are probably they're more the brands that if I got into the brand warfare, the console wars, I would go to Xbox or Nintendo before I would go to PlayStation. Even though they've been my Final Fantasy machines, for so long. PlayStation's been my Final Fantasy machines. It's honestly the only reason they stay relevant for me these days is because of Final Fantasy. Like, they should be very grateful that they have Final Fantasy. If you're talking in conversations for just me, myself, and maybe other players like me, like, that's the only thing that keeps me on a PlayStation. So, I kind of wonder why we get an update for Stardew. Wasn't Nate busy on Haunted Chocolatier? Yeah, that's why it was so surprising. It was very surprising, the fact that we're getting that Stardew patch, and I'm excited. I'm okay with it. My guess is that during Chocolatier, maybe there were certain things that Abe was like, this would actually work really well if we brought that into Stardew, and I feel like that's probably the case. Is that there was some sort of parallel during development of, during his development of Chocolatier. There's some sort of parallel there that he was like, I'm gonna bring some of this stuff over to Stardew. That's my guess, Reza. I get it. I lean those two as well. PlayStation has been awful this gen. Yeah. And hopefully with, PlayStation, and again, like, I'm just a fan in gaming in general. So, like, it's not that I want to see PlayStation fail or I choose one or the other. I want to see a culture shift with PlayStation and how they're dealing with, like, the subscription service and what they're offering with that subscription service and the way that they're handling issues, and just being in the market in general. Just be different, be better is really what it comes down to. Maybe you needed a break from it, wanted to work on Stardew for a bit. That could be another one too. Just a little, let me take a break and see what I can come up with Stardew. And I'm glad he is. I'm excited for the patch. A lot of end game stuff, a lot of stuff to sort of enhance your skills in the end game now coming along with it. Outfits for different seasons for the villagers. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. Imagine a crossover between the two when Chocolatier releases. We can only hope. We can only hope. It'd be fantastic. Tired of the slow farming life and now you want to become a chocolatier? Or you get a letter from your late uncle or something. Yeah. That'd be neat. That'd be super neat. But yeah, that was my gaming 2022-23 gaming year. We ate well. We ate really well. I just finished it up, Vincent. Just finished it up. Let me give you the breakdown. The real fast. The annotated notes, if you will. Honorable mention was Terra Nil. I've got some other categories that we're going to hit up here as we go into, as we wrap things up with this. But the honorable mention for this year is Terra Nil. Absolutely fantastic game. Check it out. Little tiny thing that you can play through in a handful or two of hours. And it's a very satisfying game. Please check it out. Number 10 was Diablo 4. And it's very solid number 10 for me. Number 9 was Pokemon Scarlet. Again, another very solid number 9 at the bottom of the list. Enjoyable, but just not what I was looking for. Same as Diablo. Or scratch that about Pokemon. It was the post-release support was extremely lacking on Pokemon. And the conversation for Pokemon probably would have been way different if that was there, and they made it more solid, like Arceus, like Sword and Shield. Number 8, Party Animals. Speaks for itself. Deserves to be in every top 10. And conversations for multiplayer games and stuff like that. It's absolutely delightful. Just an absolutely delightful game. Party Animals. Final Fantasy 16 came in at number 7, with Sea of Stars beating it out at number 6. And it just really comes down to the depth of the RPG experience between the two of them. And the scratches that were itched with that turn-based combat of Sea of Stars. Delightful little game. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming in at number 5. Telltale's The Expanse coming in at number 4, even though it's only been one episode. I can't wait for more of them. And it's here, and it's as high as what it is, because it said, you're going to play this genre that you normally never play or even look at, and you're going to enjoy it, sucker. And I did. And I absolutely did. Top 3 then for me. Number 3, Starfield. Fantastic. Loved the game. Absolutely loved it. I would have liked to be able to respec. Just give me a respec option. Does it change the position at number 3? No. But it was easy for me to put it at 3 because it was lacking that piece. And how much that piece missing affected my endgame playthrough. Put some points in Starship. All right, put some points in Starship. You're gonna need a handful in there. Number 2, because it's just perfect, and I love the series, and it was a great remaster. Metroid Prime Remaster, delightful, absolutely delightful. And then number 1, coming in at my game of the year, because of its 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 perfection of a video game, and how upset it made other developers, and the bar it set for RPGs going forward. Baldur's Gate 3. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Delightful. Delightful. The letdown category is the game that we played that just did not meet the expectations, and you know, we had to take a step back on our hype for it or something along those lines. And my biggest letdown, almost had a hot take. It was close. It was close. You almost got me. It was cut it off before he corrects some stuff. That biggest letdown for me is Diablo 4. And since you came in late on it, Vincent, the reason that Diablo 4 is so low for me and is my biggest letdown is because of how the post-game content went. It was very convoluted, and I didn't feel the need to go and grind out the season. You know, like what? Just it wasn't there. I don't know what to do with it. And it just wasn't there for me. So Diablo 4, because of that convolutedness in the end game, takes my biggest letdown and sits at number 10. So, but yeah, store is perfect. The game is rubber band. Yeah. Yep. I'm glad I have it. That's why it's on my top 10. It was a great time to play through with that initial playthrough. Going through the story is fantastic. But like, what is the season? What is it? I don't understand it. We did honorable mention. Most hyped game. Very similar to what the Golden Joysticks did. What we're most excited to get our hands on coming up in the next 12 months. So this one, I purposely left out a particular choice because it's a shoe-in for me. I did not write down as my most hyped being Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, even though in the grand scheme of things, it probably is my most hyped game. Like, I am so ready to play it. I made some very NSFW comments about 7 Rebirth. Whenever we were talking about, whenever we were watching the open world gameplay that IGN put up, the non-commentary one, we were watching that. And I just really can't wait. I can't wait. So like in the grand scheme, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is my most hyped game. But I wanted to step away from that. That's the easy one. That's the low-hanging fruit. So I wanted to look at over the course of the year and probably what I'm most excited for to keep my attention for as long as it does. Not just that, but for playing games here on stream. I put down my most hyped as being Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail. I'm extremely excited about Dawntrail. I'm excited about the little quality of life and nuance changes and graphical changes. I'm excited for all that. I'm excited for the new content, for the new continent. I'm excited for the new job classes. Like all around, I'm really excited about the expansion. And I can't wait to get my hands on it. I can't wait for it to come out. Because we're going to do another one of those Endwalker type of situations where we're just going to go and we're going to explore and we're going to go fishing and we're going to do side quests and we're going to do MSQ and we're just going to have a really good time getting around in this new place with new fights and new job classes and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So I'm very, very excited about Dawntrail. I'm excited for restoration of some kinds. I'm excited for, because Dawntrail, they're going to be coming back with a large zone instance thing like Eureka or Boja situation. They're bringing that back again. Criterion rewards are changing. I think 6.55. So that's going to have a new new reason to do it. So I'm very excited about that. It's just all these different things. All right. Games of the year. Chosen by the other members of the Girth Squad. All right. Chosen by the other members of the Girth Squad. So Strider, who went on Strider finally, don't read yours. Okay, I won't read yours. You have to wait for Adam Palooza's stream to hear. And I hope you use the quip. I hope you use the quip that you gave on Saturday, because chef's kiss. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So make sure you write that down, and you have good. Palooza's list is solid too. Please look forward to it. When will you be doing your top 10? Tomorrow? You doing your top 10 tomorrow or Wednesday? Or are you going to wait till Friday? Tomorrow night? Perfect. Make sure to get over to Palooza's for his top 10. It's a great list. He's going to have a lot of really good things to say. He'll expand a little bit more on the depth of the Final Fantasy 16 discussion that we had. And we'll have more to say on because for me, it's tough for my brain to go back to those things and stay there, because I've so far had a really great experience with it. Palooza is going to be able to get a little bit more into our critiques of Final Fantasy 16, what we would like to see going forward from the Final Fantasy series. So please listen to that at least. And his list is there's so many good games. But Strider went on a huge PlayStation 5 playthrough. His entire list was comprised of PlayStation 5 games, because he finally got his hands on one, even went as far as canceling his Game Pass subscription, and just had a fantastic time with his PlayStation 5 this year. Basically the complete opposite of me. But he ended up choosing Horizon Forbidden West as his game of the year. Platinumed the game. The dude decimated it and dug into Forbidden West so hard. He had a blast with it. Just absolutely dominated it from one end to the other. So his game of the year, Horizon Forbidden West, was very impressed by it. J Money, who is an all-around gamer, but mostly plays on the PlayStation. He had a lot of, honestly, as far as what the Diablo 4 conversation, that was his game of the year, the Diablo 4 conversation, he was very positive on it. He was a little brokenhearted that he wasn't able to take his werewolf character that he enjoyed playing through the story experience. He was heartbroken that he wasn't able to carry that on into the end game. But dude has put some hours into Diablo 4 and has had a great time, not just playing it by himself, but also playing with his soon-to-be wife, his fiance. Those two have sat down and played over 300 hours of Diablo 4 and have had a great time playing it. So that ended up being J Money's game of the year, was Diablo 4, along with his fiancés who made their debut for her lists this year. It was pleasant. Only played like 3 games or something like that herself, but also included games that she enjoyed watching J Money play into her conversation a bit. It was delightful. But she also chose Diablo 4. They just have had a blast with Diablo 4. And then we already know mine.